What element do you think was lacking in the statutes that you evaluated as it relates to Secretary Clinton?
So let me, again, as I've indicated before, and I want to make it clear that, as I indicated before, while the reason why I would not be going into the analysis that was provided and the discussion that we had between myself and the team is because we protect our teams and that they have to be free to provide information and analysis in a confidential way without the fear or impact of there being a political influence on that.
I understand
and that is why I have not gone into that type of discussion. What I can tell you is that the team did evaluate the relevant statutes that were considered in this investigation. They looked at all of the facts and evidence, and as in every case, they applied them to that statute to determine whether the elements had been met. But my specific question to you, Madam Attorney General, is what element of which offense did you find lacking from an evidentiary standpoint? Well, I would say that in order to answer that, I would have to go into the entire level of analysis.
Well, don't you think public perception in a single-track justice system is important enough that you could at least touch on what you thought was lacking? Congressman, in this case, we have taken the unusual step of discussing it in ways that the Department typically does not, in order to provide more clarity into this situation. And while I understand that it is frustrating to a number of people, civilians as well as members of this body, we have taken extraordinary steps to discuss this matter in ways that typically we do not, particularly when charges are not brought. And as I indicated before, just so it's clear, my reasons for not going into the substance of the information that I receive and review before I made my decision to accept the recommendation are that the teams that I work with, whether it's this case or any other, be free to provide confidential analysis, discussion, without the input of any kind of political influence. With all due respect, Madam Attorney General, you can do all of what you just described and still tell the people what element. I mean, the elements of a criminal offense are public, so there's no secret there. And for you to go through the elements and say, as Director Comey did, he said there was no specific intent. I'm out of time, but I suspect you have prosecuted reckless homicide cases, haven't you? In the context of violent crime. How about involuntary manslaughter? For the department or personally? No, just as a prosecutor. There's involuntary manslaughter. There's reckless homicide. There's felony DUI where you really didn't mean to hurt anybody. You really didn't, but you did. And this lack of specific intent is not a defense in any of those cases. So I think the public would like to know how you determined she did not have the intent to break the law and why you are applying a specific intent requirement here when you don't even do it in certain homicide cases. Well, Congressman, as I've said, I think you've mentioned a number of state cases there. But as I've said, the reason why I am not going into the discussion I had and providing that particular level of information, although